Dams enable the production of food and renewable energy. It is a crucial tool for economic development and climate change adaptation. My name is Enyonam, and thanks for joining us on the Ghanaian Farmer. Today we are all the way in the Volta region, precisely a community called Telapangu. In this community, there are a lot of crops, tubers, and cereals cultivated, but our focus is going to be on rice production in the Volta region. However, before we get to the farm itself, let's talk briefly about this big dam you see right behind me. I'm going to be engaging one commercial rice farmer in this area to tell us pretty much about what the dam does, how it helps them to sustain production throughout the year. We are going for a quick breather. When we come back, Mr. Kukuba will tell me more about this dam and how it's been helping farmers in this community. I'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Ghanaian Farmer on Joy Prime Television. Please get interactive with your questions and views. But today, we are talking about rice production in the region I come from, the Volta region. Yes, I'm a proud number 9. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
It has been long overdue for this interview.
I know.
Yes, so today we are in Telapangu.
That's right.
And our focus is going to be on rice production. But one thing that plays a critical role in rice production has to do with source of water, being it man-made or being it from the above.
Yeah.
Now, this dam right behind us, how long has it been here?
Well, history tells us that it's been here for well over 50 years.
Okay.
In fact, it was constructed during the time of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president of the Republic.
Right.
And we got to understand that it was because this dam was constructed as part of the government state farms.
Okay.
So it's been in existence for quite some time now.
Okay.
But of course, you know, the state farms, as you know, collapsed, and then this dam has pretty much become like a community dam serving the community folks.
Okay. How many communities surround the dam?
Quite a number, but I can basically count about between 5 to 10 communities that are quite closer to the dam.
Right.
Yeah.
Does the dam ever get dry during the dry season?
It never dries. Interestingly, it never dries.
Okay.
So there is always some level of water in the dam. You know, that helps to facilitate farming around the dam.
Okay. How many types or different types of farmers are in this area that this dam serves? Let's look at the things that they grow typically in this area.
Sure. So, of course, we are into rice farming, so we have a couple of rice farmers around. Most of them are smallholder farmers, but we are into the commercial large-scale production. Okay. So I would say we have the rice farmers, we have vegetable farmers around, we have some tuber crop farmers, specifically cassava, and I guess yam as well. Yeah, so largely I think it's the tuber crops, cassava, and the vegetables, maybe pepper or chili, and okra, and you know, some other crops as well. Okay.
Now, how clean is the water that is being used to irrigate this farm? Has it been tested and declared clean enough for usage for farms?
Well, in terms of its cleanliness, so to speak, I think that I would rather say that it's equally safe for farming. Right. You know, we did a bit of a test, and indeed the Ghana Water Works and other institutions that whose job it is to protect such, you know, if you like, stuff like this, do come around and then do the test and all that. Some community folks do use it as their source of drinking, and most especially for irrigation purposes, and also for washing of their clothing and stuff like that. So, so far we've not had any serious
problem or challenge with it.
Challenges or health cases like bilharzia or something that
as a result of the dam you're using.
It's been pretty cool. Serving greater purposes.
So how important is river, or let's say water, in the line of what you do as a rice farmer? How important is it for you?
It's a critical requirement. I mean, for us, we knew exactly what we wanted to do. We knew that we wanted to do rice farming, and we know also very well that rice is a water-loving crop. I mean, without water, you cannot do rice, you know. So for us, as part of the strategies for selecting our sites, we need to get closer to a living stream, let me put it that way, a readily available water for irrigation. And so we did a lot of scouting in different areas within the region until we got here. So as I indicated, rice is such that there always has to be water. So without it, then unless you have to depend on
the rain
fed,
and that's not sustainable. I know.
Yeah.
Okay, now quickly we'll be going to, so viewers, like I'm saying, the rice farm is a few walks away from the dam, but we needed you to see the source of water that is used in irrigating that also help them to produce all year round. Now, how close or far is your farm from the dam, and how do you connect the water all the way to the farm?
Thank you. So this dam has both an inlet and an outlet.
Okay.
You know, so, and the dam is actually uphill, and then the fields are downhill.
Okay.
So it means that water naturally flows by gravity to the field.
Okay.
So as part of our irrigation development, we had to connect irrigation pipelines. We actually procured it from Interplast, 20 inches pipeline. Those are quite bigger pipes, you know, that travels nearly 1 kilometer from the outlet of the dam here all the way to our fields. So in fact, when we started, we fixed a pump, but later on we realized that the pressure that naturally is coming from the outlet of the dam far exceeds the power of the pump. Okay. So we just have to disconnect the pump, and interestingly, water is able to travel through our pipelines directly to hit our fields, which has saved us a lot of cost. So it travels nearly 1 kilometer, or let me say some 700 meters away from the outlet of the dam, straight up to the fields.
Well understood that the dam is a man-made, but since you guys have been using, is there any form of maintenance that you do to keep it in shape and clean and all that? Do you farmers come together to do something about it?
Sure, I must commend the District Assembly, the Central Town District Assembly, that DC has been facilitating and coordinating to make sure that as much as possible, users of the dam put in place measures to, you know, protect the dam and where necessary rehabilitate. And the community folks, I mean the community leadership has also been very helpful, you know, whereby they have a resource person within the community who is well vested in handling pumps and dams and stuff like that, who pretty much coordinates it. So we have a system in place to ensure its protection and any rehabilitation that is necessary to be done. So every quarter we meet to discuss issues about the dam.
Okay, all right, so viewers, this is not it all. We are going straight to the farm itself to have a look at. I'm told there's some harvesting ongoing, so let's see how. I'm going to learn how to harvest rice today. Of course, my kitchen should be filled with some bags of rice, so you know what?
It's a staple.
The best place to come from this whole month to next month is my kitchen, because I'll have a lot of Ghanaian rice in my kitchen. My name is Enyonam, and this is the Ghanaian Farmer. We are going for a quick breather, and when we come back, you see us on the farm itself harvesting and talking about rice production in the Volta region. But you know what? I'm going to the dam. I want to put my foot in there and see how deep it is. I hope I can swim, or if not, you have to come and rescue me. But I'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying. This is still the Ghanaian Farmer. My name is Enyonam, and we are all the way in the Volta region, precisely. The community is called Telapani. And standing next to me, standing next to me is my guest, Farmer Global CEO, Mr. Fred Kukubo, and he has a huge parcel of land cultivating rice. Mr. Kukubo, thanks for joining me once again. So from the dam, we told you we'll be coming to the farm itself so that you can see the greens. We're also at where harvesting is going on. So some of the rice are ready for harvesting, some are yet to be ready. So, I mean, if you look right behind us, it's looking very green, and that is the rice, Ghana rice. I'm super proud right now to be a Ghanaian. Now, how many communities in the Volta region do we grow rice?
Well, that's quite a number. I'm not too sure I can be able to number all of them. Okay. But I know that in this area, the Central Town, I mean, if you're looking at the Town district, the Central Town, the North Town, you know, the Central Town includes the Mafiadidome, Mafikumase area enclave, and then the North Town, where the Aveime area, you know, and then, then you go all the way to Avalavi area.
They are all rice growing areas.
Rice growing. So Volta region for me has among the biggest rice growing, you know, regions in Ghana. Okay. I mean, arguably. Right. Yeah, because we have access to water. I mean, the Volta River and there are a lot of streams also around compared to the northern sector where
the struggle for access to water
and all that.
Right. Okay. So now let's focus on Farmer Global. How many parcels of land are you cultivating?
So over here we are working. We have access to some nearly 500 acres of farmland to work with.
Right.
But of course we are growing steadily because of the capital requirement of the investment. But on the average, we do between 150 to 200 acres per production. But in the year, we do 2 cycles in a year. Meaning that technically, even if we are doing 200 acres per production, technically we are doing 400 acres per production. But we have access to some 500 acres that we are developing gradually to full capacity. So this season, we are preparing the rest of the fields, to add up to what we have so we could be able to produce at full capacity.
Okay. What variety of rice do you grow on your farm?
So we do the aromatic rice, locally we all call perfume rice. Actually, there are 2 types of rice. We have the aromatic and non-aromatic. Basically, the aromatic is the perfume rice, the non-aromatic is the one that does not have that aroma, that perfume scent, so to speak. And so that's what we do. And under the aromatic rice, we have, let me say, 3 varieties we deploy here. We have the jasmine, we have the X-Pica, and then we also do the agra. Okay.
Where do you get your planting materials from?
Sure. So we procure the certified seeds from the Pond Irrigation Project, KIP, who have the systems in place with verification or checks by MOFA through their PPRSD. So we make sure that wherever we are procuring the seeds from is indeed a credible source to help our production. So we ensure consistency. We do these 3 major varieties: agra, X-Pica, and then jasmine.
How do you determine what kind of land is good for rice production?
So it all starts from the soil test analysis. So when we came here, we had to do some soil test analysis. Normally, because rice is a water-loving crop, so to speak, you would require a soil which is clay or better clay loam. And that is what we have here. So it is clay loam, meaning that once water hits the field, it's able to retain
for a longer period.
So the water holding capacity here on this field is quite good. Unless of course during extreme droughts, that perhaps you will be seeing a bit of challenge. You'll be having a bit of challenges with water staying on the crop because of evapotranspiration.
What kind of climatic condition is good for cultivating rice?
Ideally rain. If you have very good water, let me put it this way, water, I think it's best. So that is why for me, if you mean business and you want to do rice, you pretty much want to already get water. In other words, you should do an irrigated field. And that's what we are doing here. We meant business. We knew that, look, water will be required for the rice. And so to solve that problem and to ensure long-term supply for the sustainability of our business, we needed to get a place that we can really have access, to water, and that's what we are doing here. So the condition must be such that there is always water if you are into the large-scale production, such that you can always irrigate year-round.
Okay, let's remain a bit on the land. Is this huge parcel of land, 500 acres you mentioned, is it a long-term lease or it's been entirely purchased?
No, it's a long-term lease. We could not have afforded the entire purchase. It's a long-term lease over a period of time.
Right. When you have access to your planting materials, take me through the step-by-step before I see my rice coming out.
Yeah, so first of all, once the seeds are available or the certified seeds are available, we need to then do the land preparation to make sure that the field is well leveled. So then we deploy mechanized equipment like the tractors, which has the implements for leveling. So we do the plowing, we do the harrowing to ensure leveling, and then we have a leveler that we do introduce. So for the land preparation, there are 2 types. You can do dry land preparation, where you engage the tractor coupled to a harrow, and then a plow, and then you bring in a leveler, a laser leveler, or a land plane. Or you can do wet land preparation, where you pump water into the fields and then you engage a rotavator. It's an implement that you couple to a tractor. These days there are improved ones. There are crawler rotavators that is able to float on the water and still rotavate the land with the muddy water to get the leveling that you want.
After that, do you also nurse rice before you transplant?
We do not nest.
So
we have a seed drill. We have a rice planter. Let me put it that way, like a seed drill that we procure from MOFA through the Agricultural Engineering Service Department, which is very good. So we calibrate it once the field is prepared and is leveled. We calibrate it and then we do seed drill. Meaning that the rice are planted in line. Using that.
So what we see behind us now is planted in lines.
Yeah, these are seed drilled plants and rice fields.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a bit about how many days it takes you to fill this 150 acres of land you have. Do you plant them as a go or you do it step by step?
Yeah, we plant. So this entire field is segmented into, let me say, 5 parts. So every sector or segment is about 100 acres. Yeah, let me say between 80 to 100 acres, roughly. So with 100 acres, for instance, once you enter the seed drill, you pretty much need just like a week maximum. A day a seed drill can do minimum 20 acres. So you can imagine how fast it goes compared to the traditional, the manual way where you are broadcasting. You know, so these high-tech equipment really helps to fast-track the process. You know.
All right. Now let's get to know about how much the planting material costs, because if I am looking forward to also working around 100 or 80 acres, how much are we talking about?
That is one aspect of the challenges. You know, these days the planting materials are quite expensive, so to speak. The last bit input we bought or stock we bought for the 40 kg, you should be looking at between 300 to 350 Ghana cedis.
For one?
Yeah, for one 40 kg certified seed.
Wow.
In fact, it could be higher. In fact, last year, in some areas, you could even be buying it closer to 500 cedis.
So you have to multiply 500 times the number of acres you're going to?
Not really. So for every hectare, you need 3 bags of the 40 kg. So you do the calculation. So for if you are looking at 100 acres, possibly you are looking at some 50 to 60 or 90, between 60 to 90 bags of the 40 kg averagely. Yeah.
Do you do extraction like other farmers do? So this year, I think I love what I'm saying. So let me keep this on the side, replant the next time, or every time you have to buy new planting material?
Absolutely. We don't replant the harvested paddy, we call it so, because you know, you want to, for us, we are particular about consistency in terms of the quality of the seeds. We have positioned ourselves as a major quality paddy supplier to some of the major off-takers or companies. I can mention the likes of Brazil Agro. They are also into rice, but we augment their supplies. Also Olam, as we speak this harvest we are doing, they are the off-takers. There are quite some big companies that we have supply contract with or a vendor agreement with. And so they are also particular about the quality. Quality. Exactly.
As a result, you always buy new planting materials.
Yeah, exactly. We need to make sure that we are giving them value for money. So we need to make sure the seeds are indeed certified, so that if any defect or any issue comes up, we can backtrace and get to know exactly where the problem is coming from.
So how long does rice take to mature?
Yeah, so depending on the variety you are growing, it's between 110 to 115 days for it to mature. There are some improved ones that actually does take some 95 days. You know, so I'll say between 95 days to 115 days.
Does rice also need fertilizer, or it's purely organic?
It does. In fact, it's a heavy feeder of fertilizers. So for me, sometimes the strategy is that to cut down costs, you need to, you see, to minimize cost, it starts from the field, the land, the kind of soil you are growing your rice. That's why it's important that you conduct soil tests to be certain about the type of soil you are working on. You know, if the soil is sandy, for instance, you need heavy incorporation of fertilizer, especially the manures, the organic fertilizers and all that. But generally, rice is quite a heavy feeder of fertilizers. Yeah.
So definitely we need fertilizer.
We need fertilizers.
All right. So under normal circumstance, I can see some water beneath the rice. Is that how it's going to be for the 105 days that it's going to mature?
Not really, but about 70 to 80% of the growth stage will require the water holding capacity like this you see beneath the water. That's why I keep saying rice is a water-loving crop, because everything is about water. You know, you might have all the input requirements like the fertilizers, the pesticide, but if you do not have water on the field, it will not, I mean, result in any good outcome.
Okay.
So the water helps the rice to go through its growth development. Okay. You understand? It encourages the booting of the rice. First the tassel formation, and then the panicle formation, and then subsequently the booting. The booting is where the grains are really coming out, and then, you know, because the panicles must really be opened up, and you require water. So so you need water for fertilization, for instance. So at this stage, this is nearly, I would say, almost getting to the third trimester. That's the third month. So after some time, when the grains are hardened, it's quite in the milking stage now. When it's hardened, once it's hardened, you have to reduce the water, and prepare it or harden it for harvesting. So during harvesting, you don't see water suspending too much on the fields.
Do rice farmers also do pruning? Do you uproot weeds and all that like other farmers do?
Yeah, so not really. Exceptional cases, but there is not like pruning in rice. So it's really about the weed control. So there are some selective weedicides that are good for rice. So you need to do your crop spraying, you know, to suppress the growth of weeds. So normally it's controlling of the weeds such that you don't have to be entering the fields to be uprooting. You will see that occasionally, often with the smallholder farmers who perhaps they do not have the capital requirement, the labor services to, you know, engage.
Control weeds and all that.
So sometimes, if the person has half an acre, 1 acre smallholder farmer, he and his household, the family pretty much can enter into the fields to be uprooting weeds and all that. But for commercial farms like this, I mean, you can only imagine the number of people you are going to engage.
What are the common challenges among rice growing communities in Ghana?
I think the major challenge, I will start from the inputs, the cost of inputs. You know, it's one thing to have access to inputs, and it's another thing altogether to be able to afford those inputs. And in these days and age when inputs, there are no subsidies per se, for instance, you know, then it makes the cost of inputs very expensive. Inputs here, I'm talking mainly about the fertilizers, the common urea and then the NPKs we use mainly for our rice field. So it's a major challenge, access to it and also affordability, the cost of procuring those inputs. That's the first thing. And the second thing for me, I would say, is lack of mechanization. Lack of mechanization, you know. Most of the rice fields, except the commercial farms like this you may see, are not highly mechanized. They can't even access the tractor services, you know, to come and plow and harrow and level the field for them. So most often their fields are poorly developed, which significantly affects yield.
It has impact on the yield.
Exactly, it has impact on the yield. So lack of mechanization or inadequate mechanization is another major challenge. And more also technology inclusion. You know, when we talk about technology, sometimes they are, like in our fields, for instance, we call it a technology field because we use mechanization and technology. For our crop spraying, we deploy drones. So we have partners or service providers we engage who comes occasionally to
use the drone to actually.
So when we are applying pesticide, we use drones. You know, service provider AI scarecrow technologies who are by Cosmos Innovation Center, and then Precision Technology. These are the guys we engage. They bring their drones here to spray the fields for us. You know, and for us,
is it affordable for a smallholder farmer? You are a commercial farmer.
I'm a commercial. For smallholder, you see, at the end of the day, it's about yield. It's about your output.
Right.
So if you invest in it, trust me, and if you have the right systems in place, you have value for money. You get it. So that is why I always say that smallholder farmers need to shift from the mindset of the traditional way of farming, like the agriculture, to agribusiness. They need to farm as a business. That is what it's saying. If you are a farmer and you farm as a business, you understand the cost of investment.
Exactly.
You get it. So that's why we deploy so much into our production phase, the land development, the technology, the mechanization, because it maximizes our yield and revenue.
Is rice farming capital intensive?
It is.
How do you come by the capital you use in your production? Because this is pretty big land, and looking at planting materials, staff under your watch, the tractors I see, the harvesters on the field, how do you come by capital for production?
we start small.
Okay.
Yeah, we have been growing organically, and we have not, as we speak, we have not had the opportunity or the benefits of getting any
support from
the banks, for instance.
How about government?
Government, not really. We've not had any major push, if you like, in terms of direct, engagement. And we've also, of course, been visiting some of these government agencies for support and all that. But otherwise, we have been growing. We didn't start big like this. After acquiring the land, we started small. We started with, I think, our first acres was just about 50 acres to start with. But in terms of how we mobilize funds, it's personal funds and then families and friends or investors, let me put it that way, who believed in the vision, who believed in my credibility as a founder or as a leader, and they came here to see the opportunities that exist and they put their money in it, and we are making sure that their money works for them and gradually we expand it.
What's the market demand for local rice as we speak presently? Some few months ago there was a lot of noise in the media. Consume local rice. What's the market demand now? Are consumers still on the edge, demanding or buying more local rice?
It's huge.
Huge?
Yes, for me. Well, speaking for myself in this project, it's huge. We cannot meet all our demands, trust me. And generally nationally, demand still outstrip supply. I always say this anywhere I find myself, And then more so if you look at the import gap, the level of imported rice to the local rice, we are gradually closing up that gap. So already it tells you that there is demand, there is opportunity. Okay. But one thing that consumers are failing to know, or perhaps are not aware, is how far we have come in terms of quality. Right. Look, our rice, the Ghana rice is at par with most of the foreign rice. And for me, the biggest advantage is that the rice produced in country is really fresh. I mean, in terms of, when I say fresh, I mean to say that it's fresh harvest, it's brewed or it's processed locally, you understand? So you are doubly sure of, food safety, you understand my point? Yeah. So as compared to a local brand, the foreign brands where people think that the foreign brands is always better. And there are occasions that, we hear stories of Ghana rice being backed into foreign brands and all that. I know.
Now
we have the factories.
Right. Okay. So there is going to be a part 2 of this interview with Mr. Kukubo, because I have plenty things to my cameraman. Like this. I don't like these things about him. You see? But lastly, how do you control the birds? Because I see some sacks. Viewers, how do you see some sacks standing and you are scaring me. How do you control the birds?
Yeah, so first of all, we engage bird scaring devices. Okay. And then secondly, we also engage bird scarers, alias human force, to make some characteristic noise and sound to scare them off. And yours is not even covered with nets. You remember the last time we were in the eastern region, they covered it with nets, but yours is exposed. Well, is that not a risk you're taking? It is, but we have factored in losses. Okay. So in every production, we estimate percentage loss to bird. So which does not significantly affect our revenue. I know, right? So we know that at the end of the day, some 1 to 2 tons possibly might be lost to birds. I know. And because of the way we have also structured our fields, so we don't produce everywhere at the same time. Okay. So it's segmented. Exactly. Okay. So we're able to manage the resources to control them. Mr. Fred Kukubo, he used to work with one of the international organizations. I'll be telling you that story in the part 2. Now his company, Farmer Global, and the tagline is agribusiness and more. My name is Enyonam. This is the Ghanaian Farmer. We've caught up with an expert to know the statistics. What is it saying about rice production in Ghana? We also spoke to consumers. How is the taste like consuming local rice? And what would they say? Preference-wise, cost-wise, what do they have to say? This is what these 2 people had to say.
Well, as at the time I was leaving the service of CSIR, Ghana, we were producing 2/3 of what we currently have in the country. Yeah, that's what we produce. So 1/3 from outside to beef up the rice production in Ghana. Domestically, we have good quality rice, and then if the farmers are assisted terms of inputs, Ghana will be self-sufficient in rice production, because rice production is across the length and breadth of the country. Northern region is the major region for rice production. Upper East is next to in terms of production. Then the Volta region comes in, and then we have quite the smaller areas will come from Ashanti region, Eastern region, Upper West region, then Western region. But the bulk of the rice production is from the north. Let me put it that way. Yes. You know, rice production, first of all, starts from breeder seed. And then the breeder seeds, the research institutes are mandated to produce breeder seeds, and then the universities. Incidentally, we have 2 crops-based research institutes in the country, Savannah Agricultural Research Institute and Crop Research Institute. Those 2 institutes have the mandate to produce breeder seeds. Then the universities, University of Ghana, they also produce breeder seed. So when the breeders come out with new varieties, then they are also mandated to liaise with the Grains and Legumes Development Board to produce foundation seed. But where the organization hasn't got that capacity, then they fall on Savannah Agricultural Research Institute and Crop Research Institute to come in to help to produce the foundation seed. After they produce the foundation seed, then they are given to mandated seed growers to also produce certified seed. We have few companies that are available to produce certified seed. And these certified seeds, when they are produced, they give it to the farmers to mass produce. So that is how the chain runs. We have quite a number in the system, but currently Agra is number 1. That is what the government is largely producing under Planting for Food and Jobs. Then Jasmine 85 is also under production. We have quite a number of them. S. Baika is also there. And then Legon also released new varieties quite recently, and that one is also under cultivation. But before I left CSI Savannah Agricultural Research Institute, we also came out with new varieties which are out-yielding the current varieties we have in the system. Yes, varieties development is a process. Yes, when the rice is in the system, you kind of have mixtures. So breeders continuously come out with new varieties. Varieties, of course, should be high yielding. It should be more than what we currently have in the system. So that is the hallmark of a research institute. So if the breeders don't have that flair to develop new varieties, it will mean that it will come a time where varieties will be low yielding. And so we need to come out with new varieties which will outperform what we already have in the system. Well, in the north, the soils are inherently poor. So once the soil is poor, you can't actually have maximum use of the soil. So you need to really work on the potential of the soil by enhancing the soil to be rich. So the northern sector, they need fertilizer to boost the soil so that the rice production can increase. But that is number one problem we have in the north. Soils are generally poor. Volta region, of course, when the soils are poor, it's characteristics of the northern sector. But the Volta region is I can say for certainty that the soils are rich. But of course, if you grow rice, you need to fertilize the soil for the crop to grow and grow very well. Yeah, mechanization, that one is true. The farmers, most of them are, they don't have that muscle of financial control to be able to, harness the land preparation from planting to harvesting. So the government definitely has a role to play. The government is trying to set up mechanization centers all over the country, but that has not really established very well. But if the government can target big time or commercial seed growers or commercial farmers and assist them with mechanization, tractors, especially when it is time for land preparation. You see the hustle that farmers go through. The tractors are not even available to plow the land in good time for seeding to take place. So that is one area where the government definitely will have to come to the aid of the commercial farmers. Of course, when you look at the farmers spectrum in this country, the small-scale farmers are many, and they don't have that financial muscle to farm in order to make the gains that farmers would definitely have to make from farming. Yeah, so if the government can have mechanization centers dotted all over the country, I think that would be very helpful. Ghana has that potential to be rice sufficient and even have enough to export. Yes, from my long years of research work in CSR Savannah Agricultural Research Institute, I have that belief that Ghana can do it. I think if you know of Operation Feed Yourself, that era, if we can reintroduce it into the country, yes, it will be self-sufficient in most of the cereal production, rice, maize, sorghum, and even legumes, cowpea, soybean. Yeah, we have what it takes to be self-sufficient in those commodities.
I am a teacher by profession. I taught as a teacher for 21 years. During the lockdown, I lost my job as a teacher. So I had nothing doing. So my wife and I decided to go for a loan to put up this business. Currently, I am in charge here. I am selling cereal crops, beans, maize, wheat, millets, sorghum, and gari and other things. Initially, we were selling both, but now we resorted to only the local one. The reason being that people are patronizing the local one. They prefer the local one to the foreign one. Olonka is 38 cedis, and then the cup is 8 Ghana cedis. It's very low. The patronage is very low as compared to the previous year. So we should keep on advertising the local rice, so that people will know the value and the importance of consuming the local products.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Until then, keep watching The Ghanaian Farmer. Subscribe, share the link, let a friend or a brother get to know about agriculture. It's now agribusiness and not agriculture. Your final words.
So eat Ghana rice and spend or invest in Ghana rice.
Eat Ghana rice and invest in Ghana rice. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye. But there's a part 2 though. Sure. There's a part 2.
You're welcome.